I was using drugs sporadically. For some reason or another, after leaving the National Football League, I still was struggling, and the beast was still on my shoulder. I just fell apart. I started using more drugs, and I got arrested a couple times. And that was probably the lowest point in my life. And I want to tell you something. I have a lot of people I grew up with, they threw the dirt on.
Yep.
I'm not ready to throw the dirt on me.
You gonna be a football player when you grow up?
Today is the best day of your life. Believe
Give me 18 years of daylight. That's all right.
Greatest leader I've ever known.
What a ride it's been!
Three most important people in the country was Michael Jackson, Dexter, Manley, and Prince. Wow, look at this here. It's been a lot of years since I've been in here. I'm sort of speechless right now. Wow, look at this. I still got it though, boy.
Dexter Manley has had his share of demons. He tried to outrun them his whole life. But he never had trouble chasing down opposing quarterbacks.
When I first saw him, I saw a man. If I had to draw a football player, that's it right there.
Extremely fast for a guy that big, and extremely strong. God made him to play football.
Over a 7-year span in the 80s, Manley had more sacks than anyone not named Lawrence Taylor.
Kramer loses the snap. Manley's back there, grabs it in the air, and he's gone! Touchdown, Washington Redskins!
When he got to the quarterback, he did damage.
I'm gonna whoop their ass. I'm gonna do it.
He didn't just hit you, he finished you off.
You gotta watch out. Dexter Manley's like a man possessed.
Dexter was before his time. If he was playing in this day and age with Twitter and Instagram and all this stuff, Dexter would be a mega star.
Mikhail Gorbachev needs to get the hell out of town because this is more important to Redskin and Dallas rivalry.
Dexter probably every week put headlines on somebody's wall.
Football is a contact sport. If they don't want us to hit it, put a skirt on it. We won't touch it.
It was his city to do with what he wanted to. At that point in time, he's God in Washington.
The average American loves the underdog. And sometimes you don't know that the underdog is an underdog.
Manley didn't seem like an underdog in high school. Just ask his cousin, Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson.
Dexter was a big guy. Even when he was young, he was still big. And it was almost intimidating then, at that time. You'd hear his name on the television. Dexter Manley was synonymous in Texas football.
For Manley, football was an escape. He grew up in Houston's 3rd Ward, also known as Dodge City.
Wow, look at this. Golly. I'm gonna look in here. Look at this here. It was challenging. There was 4 of us in one room. There was twin beds. Reginald and Cynthia had a bed. I slept on the floor. This is our room right here. My sister slept here, my brother Reginald slept here, and I slept right here on the floor.
I think his father was tough. You know, you had to follow the rules. It was zero defects. There was no room for error.
My father's name is Carl Spencer Manley, and my brother's name is Reginald Carl Manley. I think he showed a little favor to him because that was his first son.
Dexter got to do all the chores. Dexter got most of the whoopings. His oldest brothers, they was called favorites, so they got away with murder.
I never heard my father express the fact that he loved me. He took care of my well-being and all that kind of situation, but he never expressed that.
They say the unfavored child either becomes fixated on winning his father's approval or rebels. Manley did both.
I was in elementary school playing with some matches and threw one up in the closet, in our dress closet, and it caught the closet on fire. My punishment was I had to sleep in the closet, maybe for a week or so. You come home from school, you go in this closet, and they shut the door on me. Had to do that for a while.
Fearing his father's reaction, Manley hid his marriage to his high school girlfriend, who had given birth to his child.
He didn't want anything to sidetrack me. And he felt like that would be a distraction for me.
It was football that provided Manley a way out of the Third Ward and a way in to his father's good graces.
There was a revolving door coming in my home, scouts and coaches. My father, when he started seeing the Caucasian unload out that car coming to his house on Page Street, he felt like this guy might become somebody. He's gonna do something. Not a whole lot of people come out of Third Ward. You gotta be strong about your convictions and what do you want to do. And I knew what I wanted to do with my life was play sports, in particular play football. I used to get up in the mornings and I go hit the railroad tracks. Railroad tracks help your quick feet. I was on my way then.
Dexter Manley arrived at Oklahoma State in the summer of 1977 and made an immediate impression.
Everybody in college, you know, we would wear jeans and tennis shoes and stuff, and Deck come out there with his slacks on, with his tie and his shirt, you know, like he was Hollywood. We started calling him Hollywood at the time, you know, but he was probably the strongest defensive lineman we had on our team.
Yeah, he was that.
Because I've seen him hit some people that I know I did not want to get hit by Dexter Manley.
Dexter was as impressive a looking player as you'd ever seen. He was a piece of work, though, I guarantee you that. He was interesting to deal with.
Coach Johnson really didn't know me. He got to know me after he got to write those checks out to them. That was part of the deal.
Dexter was recruited before I got there, and that's one reason Oklahoma State was on probation.
Had a nice car as a freshman at Oklahoma State, and it was one of the finest cars there.
He had a Thunderbird that evidently one of the bankers had purchased for him, and they were making payments on it.
I was accustomed to it. The school was paying for it, too. So I thought he was going to pay for it, but he didn't.
So he came and he said, Coach, he said, they took my car away from me. He says, I don't have any transportation. I said, let me see. Maybe we can get you a bicycle. He said, can I get a Schwinn? I didn't even know what a Schwinn was. He wanted the best, whatever it was.
Manley was dealing with far more serious hardships while at Oklahoma State.
He had to live a totally different lifestyle than we did.
Yeah.
Him and Stephanie had already had Derek, and all the stress. Plus, he was going. His dad was sick at the time.
My father was diagnosed with colon cancer. I talked to my dad on a Sunday night, and I tell you, that's the last time I talked to him. My dad died that Wednesday. I just felt grateful that I had an escape. But my other siblings, they didn't have such an outlet. And I could see my brother, he got on all kind of pills and selling drugs and doing a whole lot of stuff. There was a club right around the corner. My brother did something, or I think it was drug related, and he came to sit on this porch. Some guys rolled by him and shot him up. This way he got killed right here.
The deaths of his father and brother took a toll on Manley. His marriage fell apart, and he was involved in a campus brawl that nearly cost him his life.
I went to this dance, one of them fraternities. All of a sudden, a bunch of locals pull up behind me, and I'm blocked in. A bunch of them start shouting. Said, "No, we're not gonna let you out. You think you some hot freshman." So I told them, "We gonna fight."
And then all of a sudden, you just heard something go, boom! We run around the front to see what was going on. And next thing I know, Dexter had the dude up in the air and had slammed him up against the porch.
I thought he had broke the boy back.
Yeah. And it's somehow, some way between there and everybody trying to get Dexter off the guy, I think the guy slipped into his pocket, took out a box cutter, and cut Dexter. But at the time, nobody knew Dexter was cut.
I had to have maybe like 50-some stitches in this cut right here.
I think all of that probably played into where he got drafted, but when we picked him, that'd have to go down as one of the best fifth-round draft choices ever.
When I first saw Dexter, the first thing you see is his smile, that big smile. And the second thing you feel is his handshake.
He got this grip that's just unbelievable.
Sweet as pie, but literally almost break your hand. Go, baby, let's kick their ass. We're gonna kick those suckers.
Everything about him just seemed like oversized, but a kid, a big kid, like a man-child. First time I think I ever heard man-child, it was applied to Dexter.
At first, special teams would be Manley's rite of passage.
Now here's a 6'3", 260-pound defensive lineman. You know, he was a gunner on our punt team. You know, he was covering punts. I mean, he was just a freak.
Probably the most dangerous release man ever. There were no two guys that could hold him. And he would go down there and lay a hit, man. It would just be awesome.
Good hit, Dex. You're such a stud.
That's one way you know you're gonna make the football team, special teams. And I worked my tail off.
Watch out to the 20. Near side, he's gone. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
Then, of course, right away, you know, he starting on defense, and we didn't put him as much on teams.
By his second year, Manley led the team in sacks.
Joe Gibbs says that someday he's going to be a great one. He's going to be a great pass rusher.
The Redskins advanced all the way to the NFC Championship, where they faced a rival that had dominated them the previous decade.
When I walked off that bus, as a rookie. You heard him talking about it, you hear him talking about it, how the hate is for the Cowboys and the big rivalry, and that's the big game, and now here it is. I get a chance to live it, to be a part of it. You walk up that step and you see all the crowd, the banners, and we won Dallas, we won Dallas.
It still goes. 50,000 people screaming, "We want Dallas."
I'll never forget that.
The man with the scar left a mark in a game that launched his career.
Is down and down hard. Dexter Manley was the man who hit him, and White is still down and hurting. He took a real shot from Dexter Manley.
White's backup, Gary Hogaboom, kept it close until Manley made another play.
Play action fake to Dorsett. Hit the ball well. Set up a screen, batted in the air, picked off by Darryl Graham. Touchdown, Washington Redskins! I don't believe it! Oh, what a play! Dexter Manley tipped the pass. Darryl Graham got the interception, and now the stadium shakes.
That was his defining game. When you turn in that kind of performance against the Cowboys and you set it up so your team can get to a Super Bowl, that's his signature moment in the National Football League.
Coming up.
There are so many questions that are repetitious. I suggest that you submit your questions in writing. In writing!
Joe understood Dexter probably better than anybody. Dexter was a disciplinary nightmare. It wasn't malicious. It was like Dexter just enjoying life, having a good time.
Joe Gibbs' strategy to keep Dexter Manley in line was to get him an off-season job, but not just any 9-to-5.
As a rookie, we were always trying to help him, making sure he was squared away where he's living and everything. Well, one of the things that came up, he got a job. We got him a job working with the local law enforcement.
They got me a job as a deputy sheriff. Golly, can you see me? I thought I was gonna have a gun. Run around Washington with a gun.
Now, I don't know if it was official or whoever deputized him made him think he was a deputy, but I was told that he was actually deputized and he had a badge. He had a burnt orange Mercedes-Benz, and he had a red light that he had in his car. And he turned the light on and pulled people over and get out of the car and tell people he was a deputy sheriff and, you know, you have to, slow down and obey the laws of the land and all this kind of stuff.
Manley didn't always abide by his jurisdiction. A month after his stint in law enforcement ended, he attempted to flash his badge to get out of a traffic stop and was charged with impersonating an officer.
Try to give Dexter an E for effort on that. I mean, give it a shot. You never know. He rolled the dice. It didn't come up the way he wanted it to.
This was Dexter. There was a phrase in Washington among the media corps, I'm sure among people who were just around this in any way, shape, or form, and it was just Dexter being Dexter.
Dexter being Dexter.
Dexter being Dexter.
I was very fond of Mr. T. Somebody was trying to give me a mohawk, and George Stark came in there and said, "Hey, just do a Mr. D." And Mr. D was born.
In just his third season, he's established himself as one of the game's finest pass rushers, and he's more than willing to tell you so.
To be very frank with you, I would say I'm in the top 5. You know, I'm believing in myself. I have a lot of confidence.
Everybody would go to Dexter before the game and stick a microphone in front of him because you knew you were going to get a great sound bite.
Let's roll.
Rolling.
I'm the best.
He would come in every week, and he would be a part of our newscast. Now, you never knew what Dexter was going to say.
What are your thoughts about Steve Plur?
I tell you, Steve Plur, the manure, Howard Long eat dog food. All right, we're going to enjoy the victory. We are going to let some reporters go. And, you know, to me, I feel that sometimes so much negative. You know, we have to satisfy those jerks. I don't have to satisfy those jerks. You know, half of them a bunch of anyway.
Dexter was a marketing genius because he was always the center of attention.
3 most important people in the country was Michael Jackson, Dexter, Manley, and Prince.
It's a mindset that didn't sit well with his conservative head coach.
At Redskin Park, where the press interviewed people, I was 2 floors up, but I could look right down on the press. When Dexter was down there being interviewed, I would go over and stand in front of the window, you know, like this. And every now and then you'd see Dexter go like this. He'd be saying something, then all of a sudden he'd go like this, he'd go. But if I didn't watch him and if we weren't really aware, he might say anything.
Football is a very violent sport, and you have to play that way. You have to be angry like someone just raped your grandmother, and you want to get revenge.
You could put together a book of quotes of these are things that you do not want to have appear on bulletin boards in other teams' locker rooms by Dexter Manley.
The first chapter would be on broken cliches, especially those directed at Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Dexter said he was going to ring Joe Montana's clock.
We have to give Manley a lesson in cliche mongering. He said he was going to ring his clock. You ring a guy's bell or you clean his clock. You don't ring his clock. You tell him, I won't.
Yeah, that's kind of, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. How you gonna ring his clock? I talk a lot of trash, but you have to have the courage to back it up.
Dexter talks a lot, but Dexter's one of the best in the business.
On the biggest stage, Manley only got bolder.
Programs!
With Miami favored over Washington in Super Bowl 17, he guaranteed a victory.
It's Dexter. If he didn't say something, we probably would have been a lot more surprised.
Manley has been outspoken about his predictions in this game, a 1983 version of Joe Namath.
Trailing by 7, just minutes into the game, with Miami threatening to score again, the man with the mouth let his play do the talking.
Come on, Dexter! Come on, dude! Redskins got to do something defensively. Hit, ball knocked up in the air. Is it a fumble? Dave Butts falls on the football. Willie just set up and Manley crushed.
He always came for the big game. That was really the turning point in the game in that Super Bowl.
For the first time since 1942, the Washington Redskins have an NFL championship. World champ. That's it. World champ. World champ.
I watched a lot of Super Bowl games when I was growing up, a little fella in the ghetto. Dreams come true. You just have a lot of hope and you believe. Welcome to Dexter's Rush Hour, the fastest hour on television. I'm never late. I'm right on time. You just got to use your speed to get them. I just use the speed. I had to set them up. I watched the footwork. See, I hit them with a 3 hard step-up feel, and I spin inside on them.
Manley is so quick with this pass rush.
Dexter really has his quickness today.
And sometimes I grab some dirt in my hand, and I throw it in their face. But the ref never saw that.
In the early 80s, the Redskins had played in back-to-back Super Bowls. Mr. D had become D-Man, also known as the Secretary of Defense, one of the most feared pass rushers in the NFL.
Manley again. Since '82, no one has been better. Not many people would think that Dexter Manley has more sacks than Lawrence Taylor, the most celebrated pass rusher in the game right now.
Yet Manley was only voted to a single Pro Bowl in 1986, when he had 18.5 sacks.
Sometimes it can be a popularity contest. I guess if you talk too much trash or if you abuse somebody too much, they go the other way as well. So some people just didn't like Dexter.
Manley's going to get penalized, I'm quite sure, for the late hit.
There was one other knock against Manley.
Dexter did not care about the run. He would tell me, quite frankly, they pay me to make sacks.
Yeah, that's why they coming at you, man. I know. Just hold it down.
Dexter was smart, though, because you really get the fanfare for making the sacks.
Sacking the quarterback and getting to the quarterback is like the quarterback throwing a touchdown pass. You probably got 56,000 people in here. If I come off that line and get to that quarterback, all those people see that. It was great.
The best and worst of Dexter Manley was on display in back-to-back playoff games against the Chicago Bears.
He went outside one time and just closed line Doug Flutie. Ooh, he almost killed that little boy.
There was enough history there for there to be actual bad blood. The Redskins handed the Bears 2 of their most bitter defeats in the playoffs, including the Ditka and Dexter beef.
I wasn't a fan of his.
Ditka had threw some bubblegum toward a fan or something in San Francisco. And I made some kind of remark about that, and he said, what is that guy? That guy have an IQ of a grapefruit.
Yeah. IQ of a grapefruit. Did I say that?
I took it personally.
I got to get even.
But you know how you get even with somebody is go kick their butt. We kick Chicago butt in their own backyard.
Mike Ditka made a comment that Dexter couldn't play the run. And Dexter went over to Mike Ditka and said, run it over here.
Run it over here! Run it over here! He'd be challenging everybody.
Redskins have a special defense this week called Sun Kiss.
Right. He was looking for grapefruit.
You know, when you give people billboard stuff, you stay at Hornets' nests. That boy went crazy that whole game.
This gentleman is indeed the sweetest tasting grapefruit in the world. Irv Cross with
Sun-kissed and the Redskins laughed all the way to the Super Bowl.
We'll kick their ass. Watch me.
They stifled the Broncos' John Elway en route to their second Lombardi trophy.
And a sack at the 21 by Dexter Manley.
That's okay. How you like this, Mike Dicker?
Great.
How you like me now?
It seemed Manley had captured everything he wanted. National recognition,
As Dexter Manley might point out, and a happy belated birthday, Dexter.
and an open mic.
Hey, attention. I came up with a solution that we're going to renegotiate the president's contract for 4 more years. All right.
Then, in the spring of 1989, Manley made an even bigger splash on Capitol Hill.
3 years ago, that I just began learn how to read and write.
You're doing fine.
Dexter Manley, Mr. Secretary of Defense, came in and told those people there, stunningly, that he couldn't read or write.
I had no idea. I had no clue. And I can't imagine trying to hold something like that inside for so long.
When I came to Redskins, I used to walk over there with a Wall Street Journal in my hand. I want people to see me different.
Dexter's locker was the last locker before you went out the door to the practice field. I was walking out one day and he's reading a newspaper. You know, and I walk by and goes, "Hey, Joe, hey, Dex, how are you?" I walk it out and man, something didn't look right. I walked back in. He was reading the Wall Street Journal, upside down.
We'd go out to eat. Dexter would say, "What are you having?" And I'd tell him what I would have. He goes, "Okay, I'll have the same thing." And that went on for a good while, and I didn't think anything of it.
It was a secret he kept from his own children.
We would ask him to read, and then he would pass over stuff to Mom and have her read it.
Sometimes I see tears just come down, falling down his face. I'd be like, "Dad, what's wrong?" But it was very hidden.
I tell you what, though, you got to give him even more credit because our playbook is this thick, and it's very complicated. I take my hat off to him anymore because then he had to learn by just watching what everybody else did, understanding this play and then memorizing it. There's a lot of stuff to memorize.
Dexter finally decided to do something about his illiteracy. One fateful night in 1985.
We played the New York Giants. I'll never forget. I was standing on that sideline. I watched Lawrence Taylor take out Joe Theismann, and I was petrified.
Joe Theismann, I'm sure, has played his last play of the 1985 season.
I'm saying, what if that happened to me? What am I gonna do? I'm 28 years old and I couldn't even spell about. I enrolled in the Washington Lab School. And I took a test and the lady told me I was on a 2nd grade reading level. I was functionally illiterate. So I started getting tutoring there. When I left, I could read the Washington Post.
His testimony took courage. But Manley had another secret, one that threatened to destroy his career.
I was feeling dizzy and I just passed out. And next thing I know, the rescue squad there was ripping my clothes off of me and put me in the ambulance, took me to Georgetown. My alibi was I was allergic to seafood, for which I was allergic to seafood. And that's the story I went with.
Maybe a few hours later, I get a phone call. I said, Dex, what happened? He goes, well, I was down there drinking, blah, 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 blah. He says, if there was something else in my system, would the Redskins be able to find out about it? I said, yes. I said, we're in D.C. I said, Watergate went down in D.C. There's no secrets here.
In football, NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle has suspended Washington Redskin Dexter Manley for 30 days. The All-Pro defensive end is accused of violating the league's substance abuse policy.
I had no clue. I was just like dumbfounded. You could have knocked me down with a feather when I first learned this news that Dexter Manley was involved with cocaine.
When I heard all of the rumors and stuff coming out of D.C., I was in total denial. Seriously, I was in total denial until I went to the Super Bowl. And he got us a room in the hotel that he was at, and I saw the cane, and I was like, oh, man, no.
It was difficult for him being a part of a world of celebrity. He wanted it so bad, but he didn't know what to do with it when he got it. How many people do we all know that live with demons, and you have no idea?
I used drugs going into my second year. I met a lady, and she knew where to get the drugs from. I was sitting at the dining room table, chopping it up, and she came out the dressing room with high-heel shoes on and bikini, G-strings on. That was it. And I had never seen nothing like that in my life.
Addiction and the lifestyle engulfed Dexter Manley. Others began to notice.
Dexter would come in on Thursday night, talk about the game.
We're looking at two teams.
He wasn't there. Something was not right. There was no reason for him not to show up. He was being paid to show up, and he knew he had to be there.
Skipping a paid appearance is one thing. Missing a practice before a playoff game is another.
The most important thing in his life at that point was playing football. So he would miss a football practice. He loved it. He loved being out there. So you knew if he missed something, there's something going on.
Did you offer to take a urinalysis? Yes, I did. Yeah, there's no question about it. I'll leak for you right now.
That's when I remember when going home that night and telling my wife, and I said, we're in trouble. Dexter really is bad off.
The lead story in pro football this weekend is Dexter Manley's banishment from the NFL. New Commissioner Paul Tagliabue announced yesterday that the Redskins' all-time leader in quarterback sacks would be subject to the league's most severe penalty after failing a drug test for the third time in his 9-year career.
Just belligerent denial. Knowing I'm gonna have to sit out a year, I didn't believe it. I just didn't believe it.
You get frustrated.
And these episodes started to weigh on Coach Gibbs and obviously the team.
You got to have better common sense than to even try this stuff. Really, if you got the nerve to try it, then you're making a big mistake.
After 9 seasons, the Redskins decided to move on without Manley.
It's the hardest thing that a football coach has to deal with. Dexter faced that just the way he did with everything else. Big smile and said, hey, Coach, I understand. And, you know, I was kind of hoping he'd hook on with somebody else and get to extend his career.
After a year out of football, Manley hooked on with Phoenix and later Tampa Bay. But his production declined. With 2 games left in the 1991 season, he failed his 4th drug test.
It is with a heavy heart that I have come here today to announce my immediate retirement of the National Football League. It is an era. It is the end of an era. For me, I
would like to express my deepest appreciation to the NFL, to the Washington Redskins, to the Phoenix Cardinals, and to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I look back at it and say, gosh, I could have done more. I should have been more alert to what was going on and tried to get more help for him.
As an athlete, we have two deaths. We have our normal death, and we have death of retirement. That first death is horrifying to us.
His football career was over. The end of his second marriage followed.
Whenever he was doing something wrong, he would sleep on the third floor. Me and my brother used to go down and say, Dad, have you been with the bad guys?
Yeah,
and like, well, I always ask to smell his breath. I was like, did you do drugs? He was like, yeah, maybe just a little bit.
I think it affected all of them. You know, for me to sit here and say it didn't affect them, it'd be, I'd be in denial.
Manley returned to Houston's 3rd Ward, where his addiction led to homelessness and paranoia. When he needed a fix, not even his most prized possession was safe.
I took my Super Bowl ring to the pawn shop. They gave me $15,000. But I took the money and I blew it all up on drugs and run around Houston, staying from hotel to hotel, place to place. You know, the money was gone quick. I was desperate and kind of got real down on myself. And I called Steve Bucky because I had worked with him here. He had me on his show.
He said to me, you know, you remember what I told you before about when I die, I want my ashes to be spread in midfield at RFK Stadium. And I said, okay, Dexter, I remember that, but why are you telling me that now? And he said, I think at some point, it's just time to go. It's just time to go. And he hung up the phone. Only thing I could think of was to call the police department in Houston. I was genuinely frightened and concerned for this man's life, this man who I knew personally. They did check him out, they did find some drugs, and he was subsequently arrested.
That's when I realized that I'm not me. I had lost control. Steve Buckhands pretty much saved my life.
Only thing that helped me is getting incarcerated. Make me want to change my life.
Dexter Manley spent 15 months in Fort Stockton prison. He exchanged letters with the woman who would become his 3rd wife. He conducted 3 separate jailhouse interviews, and he promised to change.
I'm going to stay sober this time. I will stay sober.
It didn't take. A single setback landed Manley back in prison, this time for 2 years.
He relapsed again, and I didn't understand that. I really didn't. I just thought, well, what were all the letters for? They were knapsacks of them, minimum 2, and one day I burned them all.
I did it to myself.
How difficult is it for you?
very difficult, and I apologize. Say again? Now I apologize to the fans and the public.
I can't begin to tell you how I felt. The shame, the embarrassment. How did I get here?
Lydia stood by Dexter.
Lydia would come up here every Sunday. I'd be looking forward to Saturday night knowing I'm gonna have a visitor on Sunday morning. She's an angel.
Real love is probably something none of us really understand. He needed somebody who really believed in him. It was hard to believe in him. I can understand it for everyone who decided, oh my gosh, but I believed in him.
She wouldn't help me to keep going. And sometimes I fall, I slip, but I keep rising because of her and my kids.
I remember a lot of times where he wasn't, he wasn't there. High school graduation, he was incarcerated. And then when I played football, big part of it was to make him proud, but it's a lot of times he wasn't there.
It took me a long time. I've been to 38 rehab centers across this country. I go in and out, I think about it, I go use.
After graduation was like the worst. I told him that I didn't want to speak to him till he started acting like a dad. The first time I answered the phone was when he said that he was having brain surgery.
After surviving crack cocaine and 2 jail terms, Manley now had to deal with a life-threatening cyst in his brain.
My brain was swelling from the colloid cyst. I had a 15-hour brain surgery. I sort of made a decision right then and there. I'm not going to use drugs or alcohol. I'm through. And you guys have helped me get 9 years clean and sober. Wow, look at that.
72, 9 years.
I am so proud of you. I really am.
Thank you, Lydia. Congratulations on another year of dazzling us all.
There you go.
There you go.
I'd say, come back here. You made your name in Washington, D.C. area, not in Houston. The people here will embrace you.
One such person was a lawyer named John O'Quinn. He gave Dexter a job, and then something more. He bought back the Super Bowl ring that Manley had pawned years ago.
This won't be given up for some sort of addiction anymore, for no cause. I'm not the same guy that pawned this ring. My life has changed.
I got kicked out of pro football because of drugs.
His life is so much more than football. He's been working, he's been helping other people. That's why we get sober.
Hey, Damon?
Yes?
How you doing, friend?
Good.
You want to do a little reading today?
He's an amazing dad.
Yeah.
He's what I wanted when we were younger.
We
Always.
talk maybe 4 times a day. Like,
Man, he's
he'll
always
call.
calling, man.
He'll always call. I'm like, Dad, can I feed the kids?
I got a grandson. I love the action heroes. And so I read the comic books with him. Keep it up, Color Guardians. Let's take this giant robot apart.
I demand to face the Thunder Friends.
Not the Girl Scouts. Which one you want to face, the Girl Scouts or the Thunder Friends? You like the girls, right?
Yeah.
You're a smart boy. Okay, let's go to the next room. I'll be darned. A lot of feelings come up in here. It's amazing. I'm glad I'm still here.
That man's had a rough road. He didn't hit rock bottom, he went through it. And he dug himself out of that hole. And he got himself up on top of the pavement. And he's done some good things, really good things with his life now.
Well, one thing about Washington, D.C., they got the smartest people in the world living here. And can you believe I'm one of them? Yeah. How you like me now?
There is none other, and there will never be another guy like Dexter Manley.
He's one of a kind, and still the Redskins' all-time sack leader, an underdog who's fought for everything he has.
If you can look at his life and learn anything, I would think is don't give up on yourself no matter how bad things get. And things were bad at times, but he never gave up. Dexter never gave up on himself.
I mean, the guy has went through hell, and yet he still has that great smile.
I'm so appreciative that I can live again. I've gone through the rain, the wind, and the storm. I'm still here.